Hi, welcome to Fiberchats. My name is Irina. I'm the host here. My guest today comes from Oslo, Emilie Fosse. Welcome to Fiberchats.
Thank you very much.
Well, I first met you guys at India Untangled, and you had the booth there, and you were explaining about the app you created that's called Knit&Note. But before we get into the app, tell me a little bit about yourself. How you grew up and when did your crafting story start?
Yeah, sure. So I'm actually not from Oslo. Oslo is the capital of Norway, but I'm from the west coast. So the city is called Stavanger, and I grew up like not in the city center, but more like offside, like what do you say? Yeah.
In rural area?
Yeah, definitely. And since I was little, I think I started knitting when I was 7.
Oh.
I learned it not from my mom because she didn't have the patience to teach me. So I learned from a friend's mother, actually. And as soon as I started, I really felt like this is something I really understand and can feel, get the feeling of accomplishment by actually creating something myself. You know, a lot of kids are really good at soccer or any other sports, and that was just not me. So when I finally found something that I could relate to and felt like I was good at, it gave me such a good feeling. So that's how it started. Um, yeah, and then I'm actually a trained nurse, so I did a different direction when I studied. And after working as a nurse in the ER for a couple of years, I were in my second maternity leave. I was knitting a lot,
Yeah.
you know, in my regular spot in the couch, always knitting when I had the time. And I was just starting to, look for a pattern on my phone. I was going to knit something, and I guess I probably bought a PDF and then got it on email and probably downloaded it somewhere, but I couldn't find it. And I was like, ah, why doesn't there exist some place where I can gather everything I need for my knitting in one place? So I started to look for places to do. I found, of course, there's Ravelry, but that's a website, so it was not exactly what I was looking for. So I pitched the idea to my husband, who is more of a, what do you say, business guy. So when he heard like my idea, he was really engaged and like, oh, we should do this, and yeah, really supportive. And yeah.
Let's go a little bit into like more details.
Yeah.
What exactly were you looking for that you couldn't find on a place like Ravelry?
Yeah, so it was like when I was searching for that pattern and couldn't find it, I was like, I should have a way to organize my stash. Like I've been knitting for so many years. I had a lot of patterns which I bought from different places, not just Ravelry. So um so yeah, it was the patterns, and then also when you are creating stuff, it's so nice to actually take pictures of it because often you give them away as gifts, or even if you keep them yourself, it's fun to have a look at like, oh, I've made all these kind of things this year. And yeah, so I couldn't find that specific things to do somewhere else. Like also my yarn stash, or like yarn collection, I guess that's a better word.
Right.
uh, so I really like wanted a place where I could have everything gathered and easy to use on the go as well on my phone. So I guess that was like the most important things for me back then. And now I see several ways of using it and adding more features that I feel like I need in my knitting life. Yeah.
Well, let's go about how does one with nursing degree create an app?
Yeah, that's a question I've asked myself as well. So I guess we needed a good team. It couldn't only be me. It had to be someone with a business degree or like experience in business, and also tech people to actually, code the app. And yeah, we found someone that my husband knew through his network at work. and asked if they wanted to join us, and they did. So in the beginning, we kind of, it's a steep learning curve. You are learning so much you have no idea about, uh, and we just had to learn all that stuff that you need to know. And we applied for funding from the Norwegian government and received funding to get started, because it's expensive to create apps. And then we had to get investors, and the first time we were getting investors on board, we only had like a PowerPoint presentation and like, this is what it's going to be like. It didn't end up like that at all, but at least we launched the app. And yeah, so that's how we started. And then, for example, we soon figured out we needed to focus on marketing to see like if it's something people actually want, besides like not only me. And I had to go way out of my comfort zone, getting used to being in front of camera and taking videos of myself speaking English, which is still not very comfortable. And yeah, just like we really, really wanted to do this. And then we just had to kind of like find that gear to, I don't know, it's hard to explain in English. It's, yeah, it's, as a knitter yourself, that knitting is a true passion and it's something I really, really enjoy. So to being able to create my own workplace in that segment was just really tempting. So it had to work, kind of. Yeah.
Well, let's talk about marketing, because again, like being a nurse, that's not something you've been doing in your career previously. How did you approach marketing? Was it like, did you go to yarn fairs, festivals? Who did you approach for the marketing?
Good question. We early started with Instagram because since I've been a knitter for a while, I've also had my own Instagram knitting account to share pictures of what I make and stuff. So we started with that network that I had there, and then created an Instagram account for Knit&Note. So that's basically the first place, and then we got people there to sign up for newsletter and use that as a channel to reach out to those that were really interested in hearing about the app and getting to know the features, and maybe also be a part of developing it, like what kind of features would they like to have there and stuff. But we also did go to several, fairs and festivals, both in Norway first, and then also we've been to New York a couple of times. And now we also have, like you met Monique, she is working for us there in New York. So yeah, but we've been a couple of times as well to New York ourselves. Yeah.
So when people meet you, do they immediately come up with more suggestions of what else you need on your app?
Yes. Yes, very often people have suggestions, and I guess that's kind of the hard part, to pick which things we should prioritize and not, because of the costs of creating an app and all new features. We need to like prioritize what we think most people would appreciate. So that's a hard hard decisions to make.
Well, when I first met Monique, my first question was, why would I need an app when there is Ravelry with hundreds of thousands patterns there? How do you go about trying to sell the new app, right, in the world where Ravelry exists for a decade or
Yeah.
more?
Well, I guess maybe that's special in Norway, but in Norway people don't actually use Ravelry very much, and especially younger people are really like, what do you say, they expect good technical solutions that are easy to use, user friendly. And for many people, Ravelry just isn't that. But if you've been using Ravelry for a decade, like then that's probably good for you if you are already used to having Ravelry on your phone and on the go and everything. So I guess it depends on how long you've been in the game, how long you've been, for example, using Ravelry or some other website or app. So I've seen a couple of YouTube videos or people are comparing Ravelry to Knit&Note, and one of the things that they appreciate with Knit&Note is that you have it on your phone, really accessible on the go, and that it's easy to add yarn, and you can upload patterns from other places as well and make your own library, and those features are totally free. So yeah, I guess that's some of the main differences. And since I haven't used Ravelry myself, I can't like I can only base what I talk about now on feedback we've gotten from others that use Ravelry, kind of. Yeah. So yeah.
My oldest son, he's in the tech world, and every once in a while he'll watch my video and he'll come up with the critique of how I could improve and what else I could do better and things like that. And I have to remind myself that in reality, he is not my target audience.
No, he's
Who,
not.
who is your target audience? Who do you imagine is your primary clients?
We are targeting those between age 25 to 40 approximately, and then also, of course, older than 40 as well. But we want to like target like all our marketing towards that group, because we see that those are the people most interested in this kind of new ways of organizing their knitting. Yeah.
Do you find all the knitters not as interested in the high tech world of knitting? Because I have a lot of viewers here who like probably 55 plus is the majority, and they know more about all the gadgets and Ravelry and like all different apps than I do, for example. I always learn from them.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's very like individual how high tech people are. So more important than the age are how tech mature you are. Maybe that's a if that's a word. So, for example, I have my mother-in-law. She's 73 years old, and she's using the app and thinks it's user-friendly and good. But of course, if you are 55 years old, you probably have already Ravelry, and if you have a large yarn collection, you probably have everything stored there. So the chance for you to then switch to something new is probably low, kind of, if you understand what I mean. So even though they understand the technology and stuff, maybe they are not that open to try another platform, because it means they have to use a lot of time in moving all their stash, if you understand what I mean. Yeah. So it's
Well,
more about that part.
I remember when Ravelry first started, from the stories of how they started, they were going after designers. They were trying to get designers on board for the testing to encourage people to put their designs on Ravelry, right? Because that's at the end of the day what makes Ravelry so attractive, to
Yeah.
have all these designers in one place, so you don't have to jump from blog to blog and try to find a pattern on different websites, to have all the pattern in one site. Are you going after designers as well? Are you trying to convince designers to publish patterns on your app?
Yeah, so for now we have approximately 40 designers on board, but what makes it different than Ravelry is that we just have a subscription model, so you pay $9.99 each month to have access for free to all the patterns we have in the app. So of course, in the beginning, especially before we had launched this feature and we were approaching a lot of designers, several of them said no because they are skeptical about their income, which was very understandable since we had no like numbers to show them like this is how good it is. And yeah, so in the beginning it was harder to get designers on board, but now we've been live with this feature for almost 1 year, and we see that several designers are joining in, and also what to say, bigger names. But for now, it's mostly in Scandinavia, and then we want to expand as well to US and other countries with the patterns. But of course, I guess it's easier for designers to join if they feel like they know us. Like it's all about relationships. If you know someone, it's like, oh, I can trust her, I can trust him. So it's easy to choose services where you feel like you can trust the other part. But when you don't know us and we are in Norway and they are maybe in US, it can be harder to get that trust from them. So that's what we are building step by step, getting more designers on board. Yeah.
Tell me your dream for this app. Like, where do you see yourself, let's say, 5 years from now?
5 years from now, like ideally, I would say that if you knit, you have Knit&Note. Yeah, you need to have big ambitions to have the chance to succeed, I think. So yeah, but what our main goal with the app is to simplify the knitting life of people around the world. So that's like the most important thing. Make it easier for people to get started. Make it like, would be amazing if we could have like this learning program where you can easily learn, like with high technology, learn how to knit. And yeah, so there's a lot of like ideas for the future for how to get several people to learn to knit. I'm not sure how it is with you, but I always, when I'm knitting around everywhere I am bringing my, knitting. And when people say, there's so many people saying like, oh, I wish I could do that. I would love to create those beautiful garments myself. So there's a lot of people wanting to knit, but they don't like know how to get to that step where they actually learn it and start doing it. And it would be amazing to be able to learn more people.
Do they still do they teach in schools and public schools
Yes.
knitting? And
Yes. Yeah. Do they do that in US as well?
no.
No. Yeah, they do teach. Yeah, but it's not much. But yes, you learn it in school.
Have you considered reaching out to the public school system and putting them on board with your app?
That's a good question. Maybe we should do that when we have more of a teaching program for how to learn to knit.
Those kids are more app savvy than all of us.
Yeah, they are definitely.
Well, you mentioned that your husband was one of your first supporters. Is he sick and tired of hearing about knitting by now?
No, he's not. Well, he's gotten used to me knitting everywhere, and I remember like when I said, "Oh, it would be great to start this app, make this app, blah blah blah." He was like, yeah, he knows that I spend a lot of money on yarn, and he's seen it like for several years of marriage. Like, oh, this is how much you spend on yarn every year. And when he saw the opportunity to maybe we can even make money on you being so good at knitting, and I was like, oh yeah, I haven't thought about that, but yeah. So he is also working full time in the app now, together with me and 6 other people. So we are 8 people working here now.
Are you profitable now?
No, no, we are not. It will probably take some years because uh, we want most of the features to be available to everyone in the free version, which means we are not making any money on that part. And then you have the premium subscription where people buy a subscription to have access to all the patterns. But most of that money goes back to the designers because we want them to get rewarded for the patterns they've made. So for now, no, we're not making that much money, but we need to. We of course, to be a sustainable business, we need to, right? So we have launched a yarn shop inside the app and are doing things to get the revenue up, because if people want to keep an app like this, in some way someone has to pay for it, right? And until now it's only been our investors paying for everything, and in the long term they would definitely want to be rewarded for believing in a knitting app and investing their time and money. So hopefully that will happen within a couple of years.
You ever wake up at night in cold sweat and thinking, what did I got myself into?
Yeah, we have three small kids, and one of them were born while we started this company. So it's been some busy years for sure. And you know, the part when working together with your husband and driving to work together with your husband, being together with him with the kids in the afternoon. So we spend a lot of time together, and we can notice like when it's hard times at work, if we have something to worry about, it could be money or runway and that kind of stuff. And it's really hard to let that discussion be left at work when we then go back home to be with the kids. So that's kind of a like, sometimes I feel like there's a battle in my head, like, why are we doing this? It's like, uh, it's affecting our private life as well. But then next day it could be totally different. And those good days are definitely, there's definitely more of the good days, which makes it totally worth the job it takes. And we have a supportive family who helps us with, you know, taking care of the kids when we are away. And yeah, we have figured out it works really well to plan long weekends with the kids. Like if we're going away, it's easier to not think about work. So we try to take weekends at a, you know, in Norway almost everyone has a count cabin in the mountains. So we take a trip there, or to my mother-in-law and their family to you know, think of something else, and that helps a lot.
Do you, now that it's your business, do you still have time to knit?
Yes.
What do you like to knit? Like, what's your go-to projects?
My go-to projects are sweaters in stockinette stitch on needle size 4 millimeters. Yeah. And yours?
Um, Lace.
Yeah, I love lace as well. It depends on who I'm knitting for. I also love to make lace on smaller needles for my girls, especially when they were babies and just 1 or 2 years. I made these dresses with lace all over, and yeah, it's so adorable. So that's really nice too. But I have actually never, or only one time, I've knitted something with what do you say, two colors or three colors?
Yeah, the
Yeah.
sterile.
Yeah, fair. I've actually not done that, so that's on my to-do list to learn how to make something with that.
Yeah, this year was my first year sticking, so I decided that I'm gonna make Fair Isle sweaters, and I'm now on my second one. I just finished
You are?
6 sticks, so I'm becoming a sticking professional.
Oh wow, that's amazing. Yeah,
Well,
there's
how
many beautiful patterns, so I just have to learn it.
how can my viewers help you promote your app?
Hmm. First of all, they can download it and see if it's something they would use, and if there's something they would like us to change or add, or like, oh, it would work for me, but I will need this feature, or I will need you to change this part, then that's really helpful for us to improve. So that's one thing. And also, if they have YouTube channels or Instagram accounts, we always love when people share about us, and we often repost as well. So yeah, that's something they can do if they would like to help.
Well, I'm
Yeah.
so glad we got to chat and I got to know more about your apps. So, guys, you know what to do.
Yeah.
Find Knit&Note on Instagram, follow them there, and play with the app and see if it's something you find useful, or send your suggestions to Knit&Note. Thank you so very much for being my guest today. It was really lovely.
Thank you so much for having me. And if anyone has any questions, they can just DM and I will answer on Instagram or on email as well.
That sounds great. Thank you.